Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Autumn Renee, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about buying your first home. I've had a lot of questions and people have asked me if I would share kind of my experience as a first-time home buyer, some of my tips and tricks for being able to get the house you want in a competitive market, and then also how to afford it. So I'm going to be covering those things in this video. So let's go ahead and start off with my first tip. So when you're buying in a competitive market like I am, or was, I just closed on my first house. It can be really, really tough because things are literally like going on the market for one day. People see them, put an offer in, and are gone by the end of the day. So you really have to be quick and adamant. And one of my first tips to be able to do this is to be working with a realtor. Now, if you didn't know, you as the buyer do not have to pay the realtor anything. It's the seller that pays the realtor. So it's a free service for you as the buyer to use. So I highly recommend that you get yourself a good realtor. I also recommend not picking maybe the most popular realtor in your area because they're going to be busy with lots of clients. Try to go with a smaller realtor or realtor team that has good reviews but maybe not as many customers. That way they can really, use their attention on you and you know that they're going to be there when you need them. If your realtor is not responding to you quickly or they're not willing to take you to see a house on short notice, there's so many realtors out in the world, find another one, all right? Find one that works for you. I know for me, the first realtors I reached out to were really slow to get back to me. And at first I thought maybe this is just how it is. And then I had a really good experience kind of on accident with another realtor. And that's actually who I ended up using. And they were great. They were a realtor team and they were really fast at responding and they were able to take us to see houses as soon as they came on the market, as soon as we needed them to. So, if the realtor you first checked out doesn't end up working out, don't be afraid to look for another one. So again, that's a free service for you to use. They help you with your paperwork. They help kind of give you advice and things to look for when you're looking in houses. And this can be a really great resource for first-time home buyers. So my first tip is to find yourself a realtor. My second tip when you're in a very competitive market is to look at houses that are under what you can afford. So if your house range is say you're looking in the 270K range, then maybe look at things in the 250K range. That way you can put in prices that are above price offers, because if you look at the highest of your pay bracket that you can afford, then you're going to not be able to, you're going to get overbid. If you're in a competitive market and you're looking at the highest you can afford, then as soon as you get in there, they're going to be asking you for higher than you can afford, and then you're going to be outbid and you're going to lose the house. So try to look for things that are a little bit less, they cost a little bit less than what you can actually afford. That way, when there is multiple offers in a competitive market, you're able to put in a full price offer or an above full price offer and able to come back and be competitive in that situation. So definitely look at houses that are lower than what you can actually afford, because that will really help you out when you're in a competitive market like this. Another thing that's really helpful to use for me is a mortgage calculator. So I'll link one down below. It's from Zillow, a Zillow mortgage calculator. This is the one I used a lot. And this isn't an exact science, but can kind of give you a ballpark area of what you can afford. If you're a first-time home buyer, it can be hard to know what you can afford, because obviously you look at the prices of homes right now in some areas and it's wow, that's crazy. So if you're interested to kind of see what you can afford, I highly recommend using those mortgage calculators. As you get to know the area more and get to know yourself, as you get pre-approved and all of that, you'll kind of know more what your interest rates are going to be, what your down payment you can afford is, and that kind of thing. Which brings me to our next tip. When you are bidding on a house and you're trying to be competitive, there's a couple things you can do. Obviously, it always helps if you can put in a full price offer or even an above price offer, and when you're in a competitive market, sometimes that's necessary. You do want to be careful to make sure that the house is actually going to appraise for that, which means it's going to be actually valued at that amount. Otherwise, that can lead to some trouble. But in addition to being able to put more money down, there's other things you can do to make your offer more likely to be accepted. The first thing that we've actually done in every single offer we've put down is offer a leaseback. And a leaseback is at no cost to you. It basically just means that once you close on your house, you're allowing the sellers to live there for a couple more days or a week later, just to give them some leeway room to be able to move out at their own pace. So they're not having to move out exactly on closing day. They have some leeway, which this can be especially helpful for young families if you're buying kind of a family home. So that can be a great way to kind of make your offer stand out, is offering a leaseback. Another thing you can offer is kind of flip-flop from that, is a quick closing. Some sellers are really anxious to get out of the house as quick as possible and sell as fast as possible. So if you're able to offer hey, we'll close in 2 weeks and pay, immediately, a lot of people will take that offer because they are ready to sell their house. So that's another way you can make it more competitive. Another thing you can do that a lot of people don't think about is you can write a letter. And I will tell you, this is exactly how we got our house that we just closed on this week. And people were like, I don't know if a letter is going to make a difference, but it really did. They actually told us that the reason they chose our offer over another offer that they had was because of our letter. And your letter doesn't have to be fancy. You can look up some templates on this to see like what they look like. And if you guys are interested, I can show you ours. But basically just being like, hey, dear homeowners, like, thank you for the chance of putting an offer on this great home. You can mention some things you like about the house. Like I remember I mentioned, like, I can't wait to see my son play in the large backyard. I'm so excited, for the front playroom. And so I talked about that kind of stuff. And then I kind of introduced our family. I talked about how I was a middle school teacher. I talked about how we had just adopted our son. So kind of pulled at their heartstrings a little bit. And then I attached a little picture of our family. So it's just kind of like an additional, like, hey, like, we're really interested in this house. We're going to make some great memories in it, because people want to sell their houses, to good people. So that can definitely help, especially if there's two offers that are pretty equal, and yours had a good letter and the other one didn't. That could be the reason you were chosen, which is ended up what happened in our case. So writing a letter, again, no cost to you, but it could help you get the house you want. Okay, but here's the $1 million question. How can you even afford a house in a market like this, right? And I admit I didn't think I'd be able to afford a house at this age or this young either. And it can be really scary when you don't have a house to sell yourself or a giant savings. You can be like, how can I ever afford this? But there is ways to smartly and correctly afford a house if you are a first-time home buyer. First, there's lots of programs you can go through. There's programs for first-time home buyers. There's programs for veterans. There's programs for teachers and other community workers. So definitely check if you work with a special company, you can see if they have any offers. Your bank might have offers for you. So check around to see if there's any programs that might help with things like down payment assistance, or maybe some costs off your loan. I know for us, we used a mortgage company that paired with our realtors, and we got like $1,000 off our closing costs that way. So look for those different deals can help you afford the cost of owning a house. I also think it's important to know that people don't really put 20% down on houses anymore. Obviously, it's still a recommendation, and the more you can put down, the better. But a lot of people will give you, traditional FHA loans for less than 20% down. Like I think we put 11% down, and I think you can put as low as 3% down. So you don't necessarily have to have like an astronomical amount of money to be able to get a house. Obviously, the more you put down, the less your payment per month is going to be. But our payment actually only ended up being a few hundred more than what we were already paying in our apartment. So it ended up being more affordable than I really thought it was going to be. So definitely, again, use those mortgage calculators, look for programs in your area, and know that you don't necessarily have to have that whole 20% down, especially when you're shopping in a high market like it is in our area right now. It can seem like impossible, but you can definitely do it, so don't discourage. Another thing you can do to kind of help with the price is look at houses that might be a little bit older, or maybe are not as, I don't want to say not in a nice area, but just maybe not a super like high profile, like interesting area. Like maybe, don't get the house that's right next to the like cool downtown area. Those are going to be more expensive. So be open-minded into where you live. And when you're looking at houses, try not to be too picky about the little things. You definitely don't want to settle. If you don't feel like you can live in a house, definitely don't buy it. But when you're there, if it's like the only thing bothering you is like the paint color or like the style of the kitchen cabinets, like those things are pretty easy fixes, even if you aren't a super DIY person. So don't let little things like that discourage you. And also be open-minded about your bedroom sizes. I was really adamant about wanting a 4-bedroom when we first started looking, and we ended up with a 3-bedroom plus like a little playroom area. And for me, that's going to end up being perfect. So definitely stay open-minded. It's good to know what you want, and it's good not to settle, but also, the perfect house might be a 3-bedroom for you, or the perfect house might have something you originally thought you didn't want. So again, those are just some quick tips and tricks as a first-time home buyer that I have found helpful. If you have any more questions, definitely leave them in the comments below. I always love for all my videos to be a resource. If you're new to my channel, I make all kinds of videos on motherhood, foster care, adoption, home life, everything like family style. So if you're interested in that, I would love to have you subscribe and click that notification bell. And I will see you guys in my next video.